Iran and Israeli relations are characterized today by enmity, loathing, and of course, aerial bombardment. Iran recognized Israel in 1948 after Turkey. Then came 1979. So, are we in an age of religious hate, or is it more complex than that? Join me, Jan Darasz, for how we got here.
Ever since the Hamas attack on Israel on October 7, 2023, and the subsequent attacks in the Red Sea by Yemen's Houthis, concerns about a wider regional conflict in the Middle East have been growing, with these two rivals at the center of it. Many countries have issued warnings to their citizens to not visit the region.
Advisories warning against traveling to the region remain in effect. If you don't urgently need to go there, I ask you on behalf of the Polish Consular Services, please reconsider your plans.
However, the relationship between Iran and Israel has not always been as fraught as it is today. Iran was one of the first countries in the region to recognize Israel after its formation in 1948. It was only after 1979 that their diplomatic ties ended. The 1979 Islamic Revolution marked a seismic shift in Iran's political landscape. The overthrowing of Shah led to the establishment of a religious state, which adopted a hostile stance towards Israel, viewing it as an occupier of Palestinian territories.
This regime, which in its DNA is anti-human, that these people have an ideology that celebrates martyrdom rather than life. The Iranian people, on the other hand, would like to be able to celebrate life.
The ensuing years saw a collapse in relations, characterized by indirect confrontations and proxy warfare. Israel has periodically targeted Iranian nuclear facilities, aiming to thwart Iran's nuclear ambitions. Conversely, Iran has been implicated in supporting militant groups like Hezbollah and Hamas, both of which oppose Israel and the US. This backing has raised alarms about the potential for a broader conflict, especially given the US's delicate balancing act between supporting Israel's right to self-defense and avoiding deeper involvement in regional disputes.
I'm delighted to welcome our guest today. She is Urszula Pytkowska Jakimczyk of the Department of Iranian Studies at Warsaw University. So welcome to the programme.
Good evening.
Great to have you. First of all, let's take the recent bombardment by the retaliation by Tehran, Iran against Israel. 300 or so cruise missiles or ballistic missiles launched. If official statistics are to be believed, not much damage was done, and yet there was a very triumphalist reaction in Tehran that we've dealt Israel a great blow. Is this to satisfy Iranian amour propre, the nationalistic feeling, the patriotic feeling? How does that chime with their not doing much damage to Israel, but yet treating it as a great victory?
Well, from the Iranian point of view, I think it is a victory. I mean, this is the first time that the missiles that attack towards Israel was taken from the Iranian soil, not through the proxies. So, from this point of view, I think Iran can claim the victory. And I'm not sure whether the aim of this attack was to bring as much as possible casualties. I would rather say that that was more of a show, to show as well as for the people inside the country, as well as for the outsiders, that Iran is capable of responding when to Israeli attack, as it was held in Damascus at the beginning of April.
Yeah, so the idea of a demonstration, a gesture, is very important in the culture and the politics of current-day Iran.
Iranian politics, as well as Iranian culture, need to save its face in front of, I think, Iranian people the most, the nation. So whenever Iran is attacked, it has to respond. There is no way, there is no other way around. To to save its face, Iran had to respond, and responded.
Let's go back to the late 1940s, the foundation of the State of Israel after the Second World War. We know about the Holocaust, and yet Iran was one of the first countries, apart from together with Turkey, to recognise the State of Israel. Let's go through a kind of outline of the process, of the historical process from the 1940s. Why did it feel that it needed to recognise this upstart?
Well,
state?
I would start from the point that we need to remember that Iran was very close connected to the United States, firstly with Great Britain and later on with the United States. Yes. And its politics was not, as we would say today, independent. So its response to the founding of the State of Israel was just a response that was expected from Iran. And as well as it was a political calculation, Iran sought also a country, a Muslim country, that was not that could be its ally around the Arabic states. And we have to remember that Iran is not an Arabic state; they are not Arabs. So, from this point of view, it could be seen as a natural ally of Iran back then. To see how much Iran and Israel were bound back then, we can bring the example of Iranian Secret Service Police, SAVAK, that was established in late 50s. And actually, the organizations responsible for training officers for this police were the Mossad officers. So we can simply say that in a way Mossad helped to establish Iranian secret police that was later on marked as the notorious one. Yes. Yeah.
Is the Iranian Revolution was the one that I suppose in the West we just didn't forget it, but we didn't give it the same weight as the revolutions of the same time in Europe. What was the idea, the attitude to Israel after the Iranian Revolution?
That's a very interesting question, because I have to say that again it was just a political calculation. Just before actually the revolution started, I mean the whole process started, Yasser Arafat started to build relations with Khomeini, who back then was residing in Iraq. And after the revolution happened in 1979, in February, just after the revolution, few weeks after the revolution, Yasser Arafat was the first politician who came to Iran to visit Khomeini, to establish those and to tighten those relations between the two countries. And even in the Iranian constitution that was written, we can say, a few months later, we have this line written that Iran is standing to defend the oppressed and the innocent ones, which is a clear indication of Palestinian state.
So did the Palestinians drag the Iranians into this form of opposition to Israel? How did that? Was it just like Churchill dragging the Americans into war in 1941? I mean, was it?
Well, I would say it was more complicated, of course, because Iran also had its interest in supporting rather Palestine than Israel. We have to remember that the revolution was quite turbulent. and the previous regime, I mean the Shah regime, was toppled within really sort of like short time.
So we've got this revolution, this earthquake in the Middle East. How did the relations between Israel develop in the early 80s, for example? Israel invaded Lebanon, huge war between Iran and Iraq. Did this radicalize both camps into opposition against each other?
Not immediately, because we have to remember that during the Iran-Iraq war, Israel, along with United States, who back then already were enemies, already were claimed. America was the big Satan and Israel was the little one. So they were sending weapons to Iran in order to fight against Saddam. So it was much more complicated than it's the surface.
Yes.
It can be seen at the surface. So the relation severed, I would say, later on, after the war, Iraq-Iran war finished, and when in the 90s, when the Iranian propaganda again needed sort of an, I wouldn't say new, but an enemy. The Iraq enemy was defeated in a way that Iranians see that, and they needed a new one.
It's very difficult to differentiate if you have a stated aim to wipe Israel off as a state, and yet anti-Jewish feeling is normal. It seems to us a paradox that you can't square a circle that you can't square.
Yeah, we have to remember that all those big words, the one you mentioned was actually, I think, Ahmadinejad, the former president of Iran, said. We have to remember that for whom actually it was designed. And I would say it was for Iranians inside the country. It was just a manifestation of the possibility of grandeur, of a power, because we have to remember
national pride.
National pride. Yes, that's the point I want to now touch upon. I mean, Iranians are really proud people, and despite that they may not agree with their politics, with their state actions, they are still Iranians and they are proud of the country. So coming back to the recent events that we had those pictures coming from Tehran on Saturday, that people just came out on the streets and shouted words of support for the Iranian attack. Partly, of course, it was arranged, but partly it was really spontaneous in a way that Iranians really felt the necessity of responding to the attack to their soil as they perceived it.
As we wind up our fascinating discussion, are we in the West, Israel, Iran, are we doomed to see this as an existential war, or now is a possibility of a modus vivendi, a modus operandi of just living together, or has the rhetoric overtaken both sides?
Oh, that's a very tough question, actually. I'm not sure whether it's possible to answer it. Yeah. Well, I would say that right now the rhetoric is really strong on both sides. But if we come down to the countries, I mean, to the people living in Iran and in Israel, they do not feel hostile towards each other. It's just the politics. And I can say from the Iranian point of view that Iranians really distinguish politics and day-to-day life. They do not. They don't want the escalation of the conflict. However, once Iran is attacked,
Yes.
Iran
Then it has to come coalesce. We'll have to wind the discussion up. But thank you very much, Urszula Pytkowska Jakimczyk, for coming onto the programme.
Thank you very much.
And I hope we'll have another occasion to join another fascinating discussion.
Of course, with pleasure.
So that's all we have time for today. Join us again for How We Got Here with me, Jan Darasz.